So I still won't, unless I see a baby physically coming out of a woman, I'm not going to address the pregnancy. Might get some spit in your food. I'm only joking. Maybe. Like stare aggressively at the back of their head and hope they get the vibe that I want their attention, and they're like, business days to review your request and give you an answer. You can't just pop over and throw my whole schedule out. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, I am Yvette and I moved to the UK and I'm sharing my experiences assimilating to British life with the help from you guys. So if you enjoy my videos and this isn't the first time you've seen my face, please remember to subscribe so that you get notified for my new videos. But for this one, I thought it would be fun to go over some of the cultural differences that come up for what is considered polite in other cultures but considered rude in the UK, because the UK has its own nuances, as we've covered off many times. So I found there was a somewhat discrepancy. So I got a lot of these off the Ask Reddit subreddit. I got these off the AskUK subreddit, so from fellow Brits, from your fellow Brits, explaining some of the cultural differences that people could do in the UK that might get them into trouble, but they think they're being polite. The first one is about popping around for a visit. So I'll read the comment from the person to give credit. I like having visitors, but it's common courtesy to let someone know if you want to come over, which is not the case everywhere. Also, if someone invites you over for food, unless it's expressly asked, do not bring something. I've had a lot of relatives who assume every meal is a potluck, and my partner finds it a bit offensive because he worries they think I can't cook. So, first part is popping around for a visit without notifying. Now, me personally would hate that. I need like 3 to 5 business days to review your request and give you an answer. You can't just pop over and throw my whole schedule out. However, I know that is quite polite, I think, in a lot of Europeans. It's just like, or even America, it's very like, I see it a lot on American sitcoms, so I assume that's the case, is that people like to pop in and just make themselves at home, which is, you know, more than fine, I guess, for family and that, but I still would love to have a heads up. Don't just rock up on my door, because it'll throw out my whole day. So I completely understand for the Brits. I think it very hit or miss with Australia in terms of whether that's rude or not, because me obviously being Australian, I would prefer to have notice, but I do know a lot of my friends and family who would be more than happy just to have people drop by, and I'm like, no. But maybe that's why I left. Another point is getting the attention of waiters. In a lot of Europe, it's acceptable to snap your fingers and a shout across the restaurant to grab them as they go past. However, in the UK, you make eye contact, smile, and then if they're unobservant, you say excuse me as they go past. Anything else will be seen as rude. Yes, I agree. People who like snap their fingers for a waiter, I cringe when I see that because I think it's like quite rude, but obviously it's very acceptable elsewhere, or if they check. What my strategy is to sit in the restaurant and just like stare aggressively at the back of their head and hope they get the vibe that I want their attention, and they're like, I feel like I'm being watched, and then they see me and then they come over. That's my strategy. I'm aware it's not the most scientific and it's not the most timely, but that's just my choice. Yeah, so I just kind of wait till they walk past and catch their eye, and then we'll say, oh, can we get the check? Daniel likes to mumble every single time, and it bothers me. He's like, can I get the check? Like, he whispers it like it's a secret, and I'm like, well, they want us to pay. They want us to ask for the check. It's not a negative thing. I don't know why he's like ashamed to ask. He's like, I'm so sorry for bothering you. But yes, definitely do not click at a waiter in the UK. Might get some spit in your food. I'm only joking. Maybe. This one I thought was quite interesting. So it's about commenting on people's weight. So my Chinese relatives like to comment on weight, and you're always either too fat or too thin. It's not likely to go down well with Brits. So talking about money, politics and religion, Chinese people are certainly more open about money, how much you earn and where you spend it. Generally considered to be a private matter to Brits and only to be discussed against close family and friends, if at all. So yes, I do have some like East Asian friends who do have that and have told me that growing up, their family would just be like outright telling them they were too big or too skinny. Like, it's a big thing, particularly for women, I think, to have comments on your weight. Whereas in the UK, I think if you told a woman she was a bit big, you would get a swift one, I think. That doesn't go down well. A woman's body is her own. You probably just don't comment on it. I'm so scared of commenting the wrong thing that if I see a pregnant woman and like she's 9 months pregnant, about to pop, I still won't address the fact that there's a baby there or a belly, because I'm still scared, like, what if it's not? So I still won't, unless I see a baby physically coming out of a woman, I'm not going to address the pregnancy. It's not worth the risk to me. I'm not going to mention anything about their weight. The next one I think is interesting. It doesn't say where it's from, but I think it's quite interesting. It says, beeping a car horn when you're overtaking or passing. It seems sensible and courteous, but to do that in the UK and you'll turn the person in the other car into a psychopathic road warrior where they go to 0 to 100 in a second. So yes, I've never seen that happen for safety reasons, but I have been to other countries where they do love a horn, I love a beep. Like Vietnam, it's just like going off. Egypt, it was just going off every minute of every day. But maybe that's what it was for. I honestly, there was just going off so much that I couldn't tell what it was for. Like, I didn't know if they were warning someone about someone crossing the road, or it was like, I'm coming through. I don't know what they were saying. Either way, yes, I do not agree. Like, I do agree, do not do this in the UK. If someone did that to me in the UK, I would have like maybe sworn and been like, who do they think they are? What are they? I'm not doing anything wrong, kind of thing. But like, to tell me you're like just overtake me, like, why you gotta? You don't have to beep your horn at me. It's very aggressive. I've said many times, I think the Brits are probably some of the most polite drivers in the world, and I stand by that. I don't think I ever, the only time I hear a horn, so if you can get, oh my god, there's a bee. This video took a turn. Now we have an enemy in our midst. So we'll see if that comes back. If you hear a buzzing, there's a bee that's trying to attack me. So yes, the only time I hear a horn is that I live on a high street, and there's like every day, because there's schools around, the traffic gets quite bad, and there's sometimes someone's trying to turn into like a little like laneway to go to their house, and it blocks the whole road in amongst when they're picking up their school kids, and someone gets very frustrated. I swear to god, this happens almost daily, and they're just like for like 30 seconds, and I'm just sitting here being like, cool, thanks. It's not like people live and work around here. So yes, that's really the only time. I never see it on when I'm on a motorway or anywhere else. Generally I don't hear beeping. It's just then, just that one time, someone blocking traffic in the middle of a traffic jam. Very important one, making a peace sign. So I'll read the comment. When making a peace sign with your fingers, make sure you do so with your knuckles and nails pointing towards you and not the recipient. So, you know, you go peace, smiles, yay. But if you were to reverse it, that is the equivalent of sticking your finger up at someone. So, funny story, have to tell you. I was at Hong Kong Disneyland, and I was with some friends, and we managed to all get our group of 6 of us onto a 6-seater little carriage thing on the ride, yeah? So the logic was that like, oh, we'll be able to get a ride photo with all of our friends in the same shot. Like, that's gonna be great, that never happens. And so we're all like, okay, ready, pose for the camera. And we all posed, like doing whatever. And we did, you know, some of us did this, some of us did whatever. My friend did this and then put her hands down, like went like that, because she thought the photo had been taken, but it hadn't. So the photo, instead of being this, was this. And then they wouldn't sell us the photo because it was like an offensive symbol, and that was like against Disney regulations. So, and like that was just the reverse of this, and that was just because her hand fell down. It wasn't even her necessarily, you know, she was in no way trying to be offensive. She just thought the photo had been taken and her hand was caught in a mid-motion. So that's, I've never had it seen that I've never seen it be that enforced anywhere, and that was in Hong Kong. So must be a Hong Kong thing too, guys. Another one on the list is pub etiquette. So it doesn't have another country of like where it's rude, but I still think it's worth mentioning because it's like pub etiquette, it's essential, and I learned some things from this. So pub etiquette would be a good place to start with students. Taking notice of those who are already waiting at the bar and then directing the barman to serve them first. If you're ordering a large amount of drinks, it can be polite to let someone else cut ahead if they're only ordering for one person. Knowing your table number when you go up to the bar to order food. Not placing your money on a soaking wet counter. The bell means last orders, which I didn't know. And a busy public, spoons often place water dispensers at the end of the bar so you don't have to ask. So the things I learned from that was I didn't know about the bell, and then I didn't know... No, I didn't know the rest. But yeah, I didn't know the bell, so I think that's worth mentioning. There's a lot of discussion around how, as a society, Brits love queuing, and they love lines, and they love order, but the bar is chaos to the naked eye. But to those who know what they're doing, you still know there is a queue even if you aren't physically lined up. There is a metaphorical order of operations, and you have to know who was there before you in order to get your drink. Another one was starting conversation with strangers, which I think might be, you know, we're falling into London territory, but it's worth mentioning nonetheless, is that starting a conversation with strangers on public transports or similar, maybe some people might like to have a chit chat, but lots of people want to be left alone. Personal space being another, as we're not intense as the Nordics about it, but never sit next to someone when there are empty seats available. And queuing, of course. So yes, I definitely think there is that level of like, if you're on a bus and there's lots, like honestly, maybe I'm just super paranoid because this also seems to come up a lot, but if I'm on a bus or the tube and it's completely empty and someone sits directly next to me, I think I'm gonna be robbed. Always. I'm always on edge. But yes, so always remember personal space, and yeah, chit chat's not massive in the south. I know in the north they love a chit chat, love an old chin wag, as they say. I thought there's an interesting comment here about differentials between the UK regionally, not just foreign. So it said, region specific stuff's interesting. Passing people on the pavement, do you smile and nod, which is what the home counties do, ignore them completely, which is London, or say hi, which is the north, because they're like the friendliest ones. Also for public transport, everywhere outside of London, it's polite to thank the bus driver. I used to do this in Australia too, but yeah. People do it in London, but it's not as common because you don't enter in the same spot. You've got to yell down the bus, which is then a different point of not yelling in public. There's an interesting differential between the US and the UK in terms of how they ask for things in a restaurant. So Brits will ask the waiter and they will demonstrate equality with the waiter. For example, please can I have some scones? In the US, you tell the waiter, I'll take the scones. Telling is considered rude, and then nuance if this language is important. Yeah, so you ask even though you technically as the customer have the power, but you still, can I please have this? Not, I want this. It's just seen as a bit forward, I guess. So this is a British expat who's been traveling, and they have an interesting take. They say spitting in the street is fine in a lot of cultures. I've seen that myself. Can't get behind it, but I appreciate it's not my cup of tea. Some cultures think queuing is for losers. How dare they? I'm offended for you guys. Everything about driving. For example, flashing the lights means stop/warning in the Middle East. In rural UK, you would flash your lights to tell someone to go if the road is ahead has space for only one car. That happens all the time in London. People flash to let us in to like change lanes or merge or anything, and then we do the hazards to think from behind. Agree. Everybody says to be on time. There's a whole subsection of being on time, and as a rule, people don't casually bribe police officers, officials, and security. But that is quite common around the world, which yes, I have seen that also. But yeah, there was another comment around depending on where you're going and if you should be on time. If it's a house party, you should be, half an hour late. If you're going to a restaurant, you should be on time. If you're meeting someone one-to-one, you should be on time and tell them if you're not going to be on time after 10 minutes, and don't sugarcoat it and say, oh, I'm nearly there, and you haven't left yet. And then it was like, if you're meeting at a pub with a group of friends, then the time is very loose and you don't have to be on time at all. So punctuality is very important, but has different rules depending on where you're going. So anything that involves bookings, so like taxis or restaurants or whatever, films, be on time, but everything else is kind of up for grabs, unless you're one-to-one, because then it's just disrespectful. So the last one I just think is a bit interesting. It says, in other cultures, it's commonplace and accepted for adults to scold children who aren't theirs. For being better or for worse, this isn't generally acceptable in the UK and is likely to start an argument with the parent of the child. To be fair, if someone told, I don't have a child, but if someone told my dog off, yeah, I wouldn't accept that, and that's just my dog. So I can only imagine how parents feel if you've got someone else telling you how to parent. I think it's quite arrogant because you don't know. Like, what if a child is acting up and you parent it and it's not your child, and then you find out that kid has autism or something? Like, you can't assume to know what's best for a child you don't know. Very arrogant, don't approve. I'm with the Brits as always. But that's it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed it despite a mid-video attack by a bee. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and tell me in the comments, is there anything else you found people to think is normal in the UK but it's actually quite rude? And remember to hit subscribe so I can see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.